Liquor Talk. It starts now, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Season 10 begins now. I'm your man, Victor. Thank you to everybody that's been waiting and tapping in with me, asking me when the podcast is coming back. The podcast is back now. Season 10, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the road to 400 episodes, ladies and gentlemen. And kicking off the season 10, I'm doing something a little different, y'all. I got an adult themed episode to kick off season 10. The first time I've done this since season 3. The last time I did it, it was a great conversation about sex and video games. How if you got to play video games after sex, then the sex wasn't good. But without further ado, my guest, she you heard her on episode 160. Y'all can dig up the archives if you like. Y'all have that if you want to because it is a lot of archives. But my guest today, joining me from DC, is Headusa Divine, and she's with the Adult Cam University. She got the Adult Cam University going. How you doing, beautiful? Welcome back to Liquor Talk.
I'm doing absolutely amazing, Victor. Thank you so much for having me on yet again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out, by the way, because sometimes I've been doing this for years. I have a lot of guests that come on. They come on one time and then they just fall off the face of the earth. They won't come back and have a drink with me. You know, it's like, hey. So I appreciate you taking your time out your busy day to come turn up, have a drink with me, and we kick off season 10 of Liquor Talk. How have you been doing since we last time we spoke? We were in the middle of the pandemic, but now post pandemic, how have you been doing?
I have been doing well. It's been a season of death and rebirth, transformation, and just really being an overall observer within the industry that I'm in and understanding that like having a formalized education system within it is very necessary, whether I just see it or other people see it as well. And what I mean by that is you go to college, post-secondary school, secondary, well, not let's do post-secondary 18 plus. You go to post-secondary school, that could be you going to college, you going to university, you going to a trade school, you just entering the job market, right? However, you still need a training and a development program to really maximize your energy and your time being there within whatever that system is. And what I created is Adult Cam University to fill that void.
Wow, that's amazing. I know you were telling me about the Adult Cam University. So go ahead and tell us a little about the Adult Cam University and how you got started.
Yes. So, what is Adult Cam University, right? So, Adult Cam University is a first of its kind, fully automated certificate of completion based online university and trade school style performance development ecosystem for both digital and in person adult performers and creators across all industry sectors and experience levels in a post COVID era. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, it's designed as an alternative post secondary, also known as higher education career pathway, with an evergreen, self paced curriculum that translates across live camming, subscription platforms that was very popular during COVID, right? Clips, fan engagement, bookings, and shoots for those that are more in person rather than digital. So, ACU, which is the acronym for it, it includes 8 educational portals, 57 modular courses, which include animated course content, quizzes, assessments, and structured progression. And the purpose of that structure is very intentional, Victor. Instead of creators having to figure everything out through trial and error, ACU provides a complete curriculum designed to develop the performer themselves, their artistry, their business systems, their skill sets, and their career longevity. And the way that the curriculum is organized is within each of the 8 portals that I said, each one focuses on a different part of building a successful webcam and adult creator career. So that is what ACU is in a little dose. That's what it is.
That's amazing. Now, talk to me about your personal transition from performer to going to instructor. At what point were you like, I can now start teaching people how to do this?
Yes. So when I went on the podcast beforehand, right?
Hmm.
Headusa Divine, three-time self-published author. We talked about my different book series that I have as well. And I personally originally entered the adult creator world as what I call a digital fantasy performer and a master oralist, right? So that's a craft and an identity I've spent more than a decade developing. Understanding the art of erotic performance, intimacy, energy, pleasure, and connection. So around 2020, I began performing consistently as a professional webcam performer. And that experience completely changed how I saw the industry. And when I say the industry, it's the adult industry, right?
Hmm.
Because when you're actually working inside of it, no matter what sector you're in, every day, you start to notice something really, really quickly. You notice that the adult industry, it has platforms, it has tools, it has tips, it has tricks, it has communities, but it has never had an educational institution designed specifically for performers themselves. You know, most performers, they enter the industry through curiosity, opportunity, financial necessity, right? But they're often left to figure everything out through trial and error without any real guidance or any real framework. And that's where my creative journey started to shift, because I entered it because I was like, I have a very deep sexual energy. My Venus is in Scorpio, right? I am a Sagittarius. I'm a triple Sag, actually. But I've always had a very mysterious and alluring and magnetizing type of energy, right?
Hmm.
So I wrote my two book series when I first entered into the live webcaming industry, and something really clicked for me. I just realized that there wasn't just, you know, a foundation, an ecosystem, a institution for this type of work. So it needed that, right? Because sexual performance is a craft. And in like any other craft, it deserves education, it deserves structure, it deserves mastery. There's psychology involved, emotional intelligence, there's branding, there's strategy, there's energy management, there's business skills. All of these things that most performers are never formally taught. So, over the past few years since I talked to you last, since 2021 specifically, I started transforming my own experience as a performer into something much larger. And that's where we have Adult Cam University. And ACU is essentially the school I wish existed when I started, a structured ecosystem designed to help performers develop the skills, the strategy, the resilience needed to have a sustainable career in this economy. It's the adult creator economy. There are multiple economies, right? Because at the end of the day, without performers, without creators, without workers, if you want to say that, the industry simply doesn't exist.
Of course, the industry doesn't exist without the workers. And by the way, you know who else is a triple Sagittarius?
Who?
Yours truly. Which
No way.
yes, all my natal signs were all in Sagittarius.
Okay, so you're a Sag sun,
Hmm.
moon, rising. Are those Sagittarius as well?
Yeah, all of those popped up Sagittarius.
That's crazy. I'm a Sag sun. My Mercury and Mars are in Sagittarius. My moon and my rising are in air signs, but yeah, I'm a triple Sag. So I don't you know what that means, and you know who else is a triple Sag, and I'm not trying to get off topic or start debates or anything. Offset.
Oh wow, offset.
Offset is a triple Sagittarius. Like most of my sign and his sign actually are very the same. Our moon sign is the only one that's different.
Mm. So you're a November Sagittarius or a December Sagittarius?
December.
Ooh, this will okay. What day in December?
The 20th. So I'm the last day Sagittarius.
Ooh, I'm 15 days ahead of you. I'm 5th of December.
Oh my God. Another person that's a, important figure in my life. His birthday is the 5th as well. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever talked to a Sagittarius like on a podcast. Um, but yeah, I would love to just talk about being a Sagittarius, but I know we're not here to do that.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because
Yeah,
I'm looking back over the episodes. I don't know if I ever had another Sagittarius. I
in
know
a
I've people
triple
say,
Sag.
yeah, triple Sagittarius. I know people always say, oh, y'all some Sagittarius and stuff.
Sagittarius.
I'm like, we the most chill people you'd ever meet.
But don't try me.
Yes.
Please don't try me. You think you're going to take it to freaking hell? I'm gonna take it to the deepest part of the ocean that you never even thought existed, and then
Hmm.
you don't even know what to do.
Hell yeah, because don't let my kindness fool you. Because I might be kind and gentle and chill, but I will take it to the south side of town if you push
South
me to
side
that.
of town. I'll take to the south side of the freaking globe. But I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm a woman, and as a woman, most people try just the feminine energy just in general, whether a man has, feminine energy or a woman has feminine energy, they'll try that. And then with the Sagittarius, it's like, I will burn you. And I don't want to burn you because we're cold fire, right? With Aries, it's Aries season. It's hot ass fire, right? Leo, they're kind of like, oh, am I a cowardly lion? Do I want to roar? A Sagittarius, we see things, we experience things, we observe things, and most people think that they can get away with just playing with that, right? But what I'm doing is I'm keeping a log. I'm keeping a log and an annotation of everything that you've done. And when the time comes where you really try to play, it's too
Hmm.
late, baby. It's too late.
It's too late because I done kept track of everything. And then people told me, oh, you cold hearted. I'm like, you done mentioned a name I don't really fuck with, because if I don't fuck with you, you done pissed me off and you never rectified it. You never took remorse. You never made no effort to rectify it. But guess what? I'm on
It's
the new
about
business.
accountability.
Hmm.
And most people, the thing about it being a Sagittarius is we hate liars. We hate liars because why are you lying? And usually give people one, two chances to own up to what you're talking about, what you're lying about, because I already have the evidence to prove that you're lying, right?
Hmm.
However, you're still lying. And I don't, it's like, why am I giving you all these chances and then you're still lying? There's no reason to lie. At this point, if I'm coming up to you, because Sagittarius, we don't give a fuck, we don't care. We don't
Hmm.
really care. We in our world. It's already bad enough. Everybody is celebrating everything else besides their birthday. Oh, here's your birthday Christmas present. Oh, here's your birthday Hanukkah present. Oh, here's your birthday Kwanzaa present. We don't even get to experience our birthdays just as an individual day because it's a freaking holiday month.
Hmm.
It's a holiday season, right? That,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That goes back to childhood, right? However, as an adult now, I don't have time for you to lie because I've only been genuine to you. I've only been honest with you. I've only been open with you. And the thing is that people think that Sagittarius are naive and we just don't know what's going on. But gotcha, we do know what's going on. And since we do know what's going on, the detachment that we have to have has to exist, and you'll never recover from that. Ever. Do you understand that?
That's a definite fact. We are like we play Law 21, which is to catch a fool, you got to play a fool. So yes, we do that completely. So I totally feel that. And to all y'all out there that try to hit us with that double present shit, y'all are horrible people. And you know what? But shout out to ones that both they did show love. But I hated the time of my birthday because I remember in college it was always close to final exam time and nobody could really turn up. I'm like, God damn, I
It's
get,
always something.
but God damn, can we
It's
celebrate
always
now?
something. But with me, what I learned is that I just give to people, and I can't really do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm at a point in my life where I just can't. But I always give to people more than they give to me
It's a fact.
because I have to fill my own cup. I have to make sure that I still celebrate myself no matter if anybody is celebrating me, no matter how close they are to me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that only comes through being a triple Sag. I feel like because that's the Sagittarius stellium. A stellium is when everything is balanced within that sign. So when people mainly talk about, oh, you're a Sagittarius, oh my God, Sagittarius, it's mainly because they have one placement in it, and it's like that because Sagittarius is big. It's Jupiter. It's the biggest planet in the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have even one planet in that, that is very it's very heavy on other people's energy, but it's abundant, it's prosperous, it's very big, you know what I'm saying? And people really can't handle that. Then when you're around them too long, they think it's their energy, right? They think, "Oh, this is me." No, it was never you. Then that's why we have to detach to be like, yeah, you played one too many times and you can't come back from this. That's like, but then after us is Capricorn, right? A Capricorn is the zodiac sign that will climb the mountain, climb the hill, and by themselves. It's the mountain goat, it's the mountain lion. They'll be on the side. You see those animals on the side of the mountain where they be hanging on with their cliffs,
Mm-hmm.
their hooves, excuse me. And since they're hanging on by their hooves, no one's going to save them. If they fall, they fall. But Capricorns are the sign where if they make it to the top of the mountain, that's that's their glory. They did it by themselves. No one can take credit for them, which it kind of pisses me off because they come from Sagittarius. And how do you make an earth sign out of a fire sign? That's the thing about the zodiac that like really is like what? But they do it. And I know several Capricorns, and you know, Capricorn's the sign of like success no matter what. So, yeah.
Yes, I have a little sister that's a Capricorn. She gonna love to hear this. Yes, so yes, that's interesting. You mentioned that, but but yes, shout out to all my Sagittariuses out there listening to this. Pour
And
up with us.
every other zodiac sign. I'm
Yes,
not
all the
biased.
other ones too.
It's just understand as a lived and a walking and a breathing Sagittarius, this is my experience.
Of course, that's my experience as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Looker Talk, the season 10 premiere. The more you drink, the better we sound. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Shout out to my people watching this on TikTok. Shout out to my people tuned in on the MBG Podcast Network or the Podmatch Podcast Network. Shout out to everybody there that's tuned in, pouring up with us today. How'd your kids because until they're about 18, because they don't need to hear the rest of this, them little niggas gonna find out anyway. But how'd your kids for this episode? Because this is an adult themed episode. So tell me, Headusa Divine, why is education such a big deal in the space of the adult industry?
Why is this such a big deal?
Yes, why? Why you feel like it's such a big deal? And why is this platform necessary?
Got you. So, with me and my personal journey, because I really only speak from my experience, I'm the type of person where even when I was in college, I do have my degree, and I more so learned instead of theology and through books and through uh only going to class and not being in the real world. I learned more so through experience. And experience is your best teacher. Because yes, you can go to college, yes, you can go to higher ed, trade schools, but if you don't know the experience behind that, what do you really have? You just have a bunch of knowledge, which is cool, but what else do you have, right? So I just realized that there was a really big institutional void when it came to the adult industry, not only the website that I was camming through, but just in general, right? So whether you do in person or you do digital, right? And I just realized that platforms teach you how their site works, right? They're agencies. They teach you how to market on their system. And then you have things like conferences where they have panels, people have master classes, webinars, which can be helpful, but they're usually like one off conversations or just short bursts of information, right? So, what's really been missing as an observer is a structured evergreen curriculum that actually develops the performer as a professional, right? That's the institutional void that ACU was created to fill, especially after COVID. You know what happened during COVID? I was on the
Mm-hmm.
podcast during COVID. Everybody had a freaking OnlyFans, loyal fans, Fansly. Not a lot of people were actually on live cam, which is totally different from OnlyFans and the other ones I mentioned. It's totally different, completely. It's a totally different sector. But everybody had that, right? But they were just doing shit. They were just, oh, I'm about to just post this video and then what, right? So the structure, the evergreen curriculum actually develops them into a professional, which makes it long term, retainable, and sustainable, right? So after COVID, the industry experienced hella oversaturation. Millions of people entered camming and subscription platforms very quickly, but most of them didn't have any foundation for performance, audience psychology, business system, or long-term sustainability. So what happened, right, is that a lot of performers and creators became dependent on platform features, tools, or gamification systems to make money. But, right, Victor, tools don't replace skill sets. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have a skill set. When you go to any 9 to 5, when you are an entrepreneur in any other industry, you have to have a skill set. That's why you're doing that, right? Features don't replace performer development. So when you go to those other industry, makeups that I just mentioned, you still have to be developed and trained within that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So ACU was built as a trade school style education ecosystem that focuses on the performer themselves, which I mentioned before. And instead of just teaching creators how a platform works, because a lot of the platforms, no matter what they are, they just teach you about, oh, this is the platform, these are the different tools we have, this is the different tips and tricks. Oh yeah, we have this one-off masterclass, but that's cool, that's great, but how does it actually teach you how to master the craft of, for me, in the live webcamming industry, digital performance? How do you build a career that can survive across multiple platforms and multiple years? And just an analogy for you, Victor, is I sometimes explain it like this. Like, most of the industry gives creators pieces of the puzzle. Adult Cam University teaches them how to actually build the whole picture and see the puzzle actually materialize.
That's amazing. That's definitely work because I could tell a lot of people that I've learned with a lot of the platforms, they just give you the pieces. They just give you the pieces and tell you to create. Nobody gives you the direction, the guidance to, tell you what to do or where you're going wrong and give you feedback or if you need it. Now, does ACU give feedback to, like, say, creators or no? Or what do we have to do to get the feedback?
So pretty much with ACU it's like you're going to online university.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, right? So it's structured where there's 57 courses, and there are 8 portals that house the 57 courses. And within each of the courses, not only is there an e-text, because I also looked at different learning styles as well. I got deep with it. So some people like to read. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to do both, right? But also the retention comes in where what did you learn in that course? What did you read in that course? What did you watch in that course? So there are assessments as well after each course where it just helps you put that information that you just learned into your long-term memory, and then it just builds and stacks upon that.
Now, how long would it take for someone to complete the courses, and is there some kind of certification they get at the end?
Yes. So there are different tracks that we have with ACU. So there are 8 portals, right? So what I did was I organized them between 8 months. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to spend 8 months though doing it. You can always unlock the next portal whenever you're done with the portal that you're currently on. So I just structured it in a way where it's like very numerical, very mathematical. So there's 8 portals. So if it takes you 8 months, it takes you 8 months. There's also another plan where if it takes you 4 months, it unlocks 2 portals at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to lock portal 1 and portal 2 in the first month, you get through that, keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also another plan where you can unlock everything at the same time, all 57 courses, all 57 portals, and you just go about it self-paced, how you want to, evergreen, log in when you want to. And at the end, you will get a certificate of completion saying that you completed everything. ACU
Now,
certified, baby.
of course, ACU certified. That's amazing. So, what should people do after they complete said courses? Because I would hate for someone to complete all the courses and then realize that there's no benefit to this. Because I don't know if you saw the Americans that either the America's Next Top Model documentary, or a lot of people who went to college and realized that there's no benefit in this.
Not to bring up another Sagittarius, Tyra was wrong. Tyra was wrong. She
She
was
was.
wrong. She should have gone and saw Miss J when she had a stroke. Okay, stop playing.
Yeah,
That's
she was
really
wrong.
that's wrong.
Yeah, she was wrong with that. And also she was wrong with the fact that she knew them girls had no opportunities waiting for them after they finish America's Next Top Model.
That is true. My thing is, it's like I'm more of a bridge. Call me Ruby Bridges. Do you remember the movie Ruby Bridges? I don't know how old you are, Victor.
I'll be
Um,
36 in December.
oh, you older than me. Hey, you old. I'm just kidding. Let me stop. You're literally 2 years older than me.
But damn,
No, you're 1 year older than me. I'm about to be 35 this year. But anyways, so do you remember the movie Ruby Bridges?
yeah, I think I remember it.
You had to watch that in school. Your parents probably made you watch it during Black
Yeah,
History Month, all that.
mentioned both.
Yeah. So with me, I'm not just gonna create something where it's like, okay, bye. You got it? Okay, cool. No, so what I did was I am the bridge between you entering, and it doesn't even have to be you entering, right? Because from my experience, there are veterans in this industry, and a veteran within the live camming industry would be more of like a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's not because a lot of people they turn over. The turnover rate is very, very high because people get burnt out because they don't know what they're doing, right? So with me, I knew that I wasn't just going to create something out of thin air and just be like, okay, you got another feather in your cap, great. No. So whatever experience level people are at, whether they're beginner to veteran, they're then able to either sign up for a site, a live camming site. There are so many cam platforms. I don't know, Victor, if you partake in cam platforms, I don't know. But there are so many brands within the live webcamming industry. And you can either sign up while you're enrolled, 18 plus only, because they're literally not going to accept you. You have to submit your ID. You have to submit, different forms of identification for you to even be on the site. So you have to be over 18 plus. And you also have to just be able to realize that this is, your experience, whether it's you're a novice through a veteran, and you can either sign up during while you're in ACU, or you can also take all of the courses and then you can sign up. They sign up people every freaking day. Every day you can sign up at any time. Webcam sites, cam platforms never shut down. They're available 24/7.
So, in your experience, which one was the best to you, and which one would you highly recommend? And also, which one is one you tell people you need to stay away from this with all cost?
Are you talking about the platforms?
Yeah, the webcamming platforms.
So with me, there are different variations of webcaming platforms. There are, and you'll learn this in ACU, there are more so like public performance uh, cam platforms where you go to the campsite and the performer is performing in free chat, which is just like the public chat, willy-nilly for tips, all that stuff, right? But there's also another version of a cam platform where it's more of a private show site where I'll be dressed like, I'm not going to be dressed like this, obviously, but I can be dressed more subtly. And the goal of the cam platform is for you to be taken to a private show. It's kind of like you go into the strip club. You're watching a stage performance. That's one type of cam platform versus you go in a VIP.
Mm-hmm.
For me specifically, I'm more so of a VIP person where I'm going to give you everything in VIP. I'll give you a little teaser. I'll give you a little sample. I'll give you a little example while we're in public. But I'm more so of like a VIP, this is my actual Headusa experience type of situation. But I mean, to each his own, because in ACU, specifically in Portal 3, I also teach about this is this type of cam platform, this is that type of cam platform. And just to give you an example, right? So, portal number 3, let's just go into that, right? This
Mm-hmm.
portal mainly focuses on the structural ecosystem of the cam industry, explaining the difference between public show, which I'll mention is more of a stage performance. Like, you go to a strip club, you throw on dollars, right? Versus a private show platform that operates on more of let's go private, let's go to exclusive, let's do that, right? So I took it upon myself with developing ACU to walk students through real platform case studies. So it's a breakdown of the entire platform, whether it is public show or private show. And that includes how to set up professional cam profiles, understand how different sites are modeled. Is it mainstream? Is it independent? And how they operate more so in the broader marketplace. And it also teaches performers how to strategically navigate multiple platforms. And there's also split camming. So you can be on different live camming performing sites at the same time. So they can diversify their income streams, build an even more sustainable, more stable webcamming business and brand for themselves.
That's amazing. That's definitely amazing work. So now, how would let's say someone finishes the course and they start off doing their performances. Now, how have you taught them like what to do if they get attracted by like say someone who's actually in the industry who actually is in the professional filming industry, the adult film industry? Like, have you covered that or no?
I have covered that. What happens on cam stays in cam. Just like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You have to sign a contract to be a webcam performer. If you violate that contract, they will close your account. They will ban your account. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot cam anymore. So yes, it goes all the way through the contract to you actually having a skill set, to you actually being able to maintain that skill set and have a quality of life, because you don't want to feel like, oh my God, like there's burnout with anything that you do, right?
True.
And you don't want to be like, oh, I gotta get on cam. Oh my God. Like, I've been doing this for 3 months. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. But you can still be making hella money off of it, right? But I've also tied in the energy aspect of it as well. So when you're a live webcam performer, you're energetically exchanging with someone else, right? I don't know where this person has been. They don't know where I've been, right? It's like you going to a restaurant, right? It could be your favorite restaurant, and you walk in, you're on a date, you're with your friend, but you're by yourself, whatever the situation is, and you go in and you're like, yes, like I earned this, like this is my treat for the end of the week, whatever. But you don't know what the people that are preparing your food have gone through. You don't know how they're feeling. You don't know if the chef is going through a divorce, his kids are getting on his nerves, her kids are getting on her nerves. She has some type of, mental health issue. You don't know who is preparing your food. You just know you're going to, this restaurant. However, when you energetically take in that food, right, you could start to feel different. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to get too woo woo, right? I'm not trying to get too deep with it, but people just, they don't see the different levels of what could be affecting them, even in a restaurant experience, right? So you eat your food, you're like, oh, I don't really feel too good. And it's not physically you don't feel too good, it's energetically, because the person who is preparing your food is energetically putting their energy into your food. And yeah, it might still be, whatever your favorite entree is there, but it just didn't hit the same, right?
Mm, right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense because sometimes you'll get something, and one day you it's going crazy for it, it's going good, but then the next day you go back, you get it, and you're like, this definitely doesn't hit the same. So I totally feel you there.
hmm
So now, how do you teach them how to protect themselves against people that can hack your information and try to stalk and figure out where you're at?
So with the live webcamming platforms, right? And this is different from subscription platforms. When I say subscription platforms, I'm talking about OnlyFans, Loyal Fans, Fansly, those type of things. I know the CEO of OnlyFans just died or something. I don't know, but it was all willy nilly over there because the whole world was doing OnlyFans. The whole world was doing OnlyFans. But with live webcamming platforms, right? You submit your information. There's also geo locations. It's a setting on the platform where you can block different countries, you can block different cities, you can block different states, right? And just you being live on webcam, you don't have to tell them where you are. You can literally make up a different city. You can be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from here," or like, "Where are you from?" Right? Just because you're from there doesn't mean you're currently there.
Mm.
And if you even try, because a lot of people, for example, even me, I've been doing this over 6 years. They're like, "Oh, where are you from? I'm trying to meet up. I'm trying to do this." First of all, you have to have boundaries. You have to have staunch boundaries that you're not going to do that. And even if you try to cross those boundaries that you establish for yourself, the campsite will literally shut it down because you signed a contract where it said, "I will not give out public information." When you go on a campsite,
Mm-hmm.
they even tell the customers to not share personal information with the performer. If you
Mm-hmm.
cross that, if you don't adhere to that, not only will, if the performer concedes to that and they're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this. Oh yeah, let's meet up," they're going to ban you. So that's just what it is. You can't cross the contract. That's the thing with the live webcamming industry versus the subscription platforms, because when you say, "Oh, I'm a cam performer, I'm a cam model, I'm a cam girl, I'm a cam girl boy," those are different. Those are very general. However, there are different platforms and different rules to the platforms that you have to adhere to, or you can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's good work. That is good security protection. That also gives you peace of mind of meaning I can do this performance, I can cut loose and be me, and knowing I don't have some creepo that's trying to hack my information, figure
They
out where
can't
I
hack,
need to be
yeah,
in the
they can't hack a. The thing is, like with the cam platforms, they look at this like the CEOs and the corporate people within that work for the cam platforms. They're mainly tech nerds. Even when
hmm
you go to Pornhub, right? They're tech nerds. They're tech nerds that merge sex with technology, with computer science, with building a website. It's like Amazon, but instead of you ordering things off of online and getting them delivered, it's like it's still the same it's still the same website, it's still the same system of coding and the tech nerd stuff, but they still have parameters and everything around that still secure the performer intersection and then the customer. Does that
hmm
make sense?
And that makes sense. So
Mhm.
everybody's protected.
Yeah, unless I mean you can violate your contract. You can definitely do that. But they're going to cancel you off the platform and then whatever happens to you. You don't have to tell people where you're from.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. But if you do, then you're mainly violating the contract that you signed to even be on the website in the first place. So now you can't be on the website.
Of course, you just can't be on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk, the season 10 premiere. Ladies and gentlemen, we started off on the spicy side. So tell me about your sacrifice when it came to building this platform. What did it take for you to sacrificing your investment into building this platform?
A lot. It took a lot. So, from me speaking to you back in, I think it was 2021. Yeah.
Right.
Uh, so it took a lot of venture capital and it wasn't, or not a lot of venture capital, excuse me, my capital, but it wasn't built on venture capital. It wasn't built on outside funding. It wasn't built on institutional backing. I quietly built this over several years since 2021. And I use my own earnings as a working webcam performer. So while I was performing as Headusa Divine, I was also researching, I was writing, I was designing curriculum, I was being a project manager. I had people that were designing my e-textbooks in the Philippines. I had people that were designing my course videos in Nigeria. I had people that were designing my website in Nigeria, right? And building that infrastructure for ACU all behind the scenes, it just took a lot of moving parts and that meant a lot of sacrifices. So instead of spending my cam earnings on the typical things people associate with success in this industry, as in luxury, lifestyle upgrades, or short term rewards, I decided to reinvest. I'm more so of a philanthropist. Uh, I love giving back to things and spaces that have really helped me in my experience in my journey throughout life. And I love creating things that don't exist. And I love filling gaps, filling voids for people that come after me as well. And that choice is very intentional, Victor, right? Because the more time I spent working inside the live camming industry, the more I realized there was a void, there was a gap. There are platforms and sites, like I said before, there are tools and gamification on those sites. And then peripheral businesses, there are agencies, studios, there are coaches, there are master classes, there are Telegram and Discord groups, right? But what there is not is a structured educational system designed to develop the performer themselves. It always goes back to that, Victor. And most of the resources available to creators focus on how to use the platform, monetization tools, or short term strategy that is not going to give you a sustainable career. Right. And I want to mention this point. Some people do enter the industry and they're just like, oh, I want to make a quick lick and get out. it's not really easy to do that within this industry, no matter what sector you are in the adult industry. How are you going to just hit a lick and then just move forward? How are you going to do that, right? But, very few people focus on the actual development, the actual training, the skill set, the artistry, the resilience, the sustainability. And that's where ACU really began to take its shape. And once I wrote, because I already wrote 2 book series. So I was like, okay, let me write these e-textbooks, right? And I realized very clearly that everyone's teaching performers and creators how the car works. That's what the platforms do. That's, any platform, whether you're live camming or you are doing more of a subscription, a clip site, whatever you're doing. But no one really teaches how to become a world-class driver, right? There are always some people who use, how the car works, that system, and they become successful because whatever the reason is, right? But I just really started to ask myself the bigger question, like, what would it look like if performers actually had structured education? They were able to hone their craft, right? Something that just didn't teach about tips and tricks, but strategy, because this is all about strategy. Because you can log on cam and not make anything unless you have a strategy, right?
Of course.
Mastery. What are you a master at? What's your skill set? You know what my skill set is by my name, right? And then that turns into longevity. But that's when I began transforming my personal survival toolkit as a full-time webcam performer. I just dove in to the deep end, into something much, much bigger. So what started as me writing books about my own skill set, which I was on the platform, the podcast beforehand, it evolved into a fully structured curriculum, which is ACU. And yeah, ACU covers a lot of different topics that you would even cover in post-secondary, higher education realms, trade school style realms as well. It actually looks at sexual performance as a highly sophisticated craft and a form of labor. It's a form of labor. I'm doing a job, right? It involves psychology, emotional intelligence, branding, performance energy, boundaries, business systems, and long-term resilience. And those are real life professional skills, Victor. But historically, performers have been expected to figure it out all by themselves. So I just didn't want that to continue forward, especially after COVID. Like, everybody just jumped into the industry where it was just like, what is going on? And I'm more so like with a hurricane, right? There's always an eye of the storm. There could be chaos all around that eye, but I'm more so of the eye of the storm. And I'm like, okay, let's make this chaos into an infrastructure to make sense, not only for myself and currently, but also moving forward into the future. How can people also learn about this? And just like you go to college, just like you go to university, just like you go to trade school, how can they apply that at any point within their lives?
Of course. That's a lot of things. And a lot of people, y'all need to stop shunning these entertainers, because I will say that, because I've heard people, they tell you you're an entertainer, they want to look down on you. They're like, they want to devalue you because you do that. I'm like, I know a whole bunch of entertainers that start off as entertainers, but they run the businesses. They around here starting their own business. They're getting to the bag, unlike your judgmental ass.
Well, I feel like a lot of people judge them because they don't have the skill set or the foundation. Because it's like people judge people people judge people in general. Let's just start there. But people judge them, and then it's like they don't have a comeback to say, well, no, I actually got a certification in this. Like, no, I actually have a skill set. No, actually, I have a business system. No, actually, I have a schedule. No, actually, I have all of these factors in place. So you can have that comeback where it's like, no, I have everything. Just like you do your job, I do my job, right? But that's the thing, just macro level, that's missing. I just chose live camming because that's the niche that I'm in. However, across the entire industry, that's the case. Let's talk about porn, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mainstream porn, right? If you take away the cameras, you take away the production crews, you take away the assistants, you take away the cameramen, whatever, does that person have a skill set? Does that person know what they're actually doing?
Some do and some don't.
That's too much of a toss up for this to be an actual
Right.
foundation for people to enter into if they want to. Because when you're 18, you're supposed to be a legal adult, right? That's what America says. You're a legal adult. So, yes, things work for a certain amount of time. If you just jump in, you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just want to make some money and just get out. Or you can even fund yourself through going to traditional post-secondary institutions and college and university and trade schools and stuff like that. However, having a skill set translates not only in your professional life, but also in your personal life as well. And I know you had a question you were going to ask me about just personal things, like personal life things when it comes to sex in general. But not only does ACU really help you if you want to do this as a professional career, it also helps you if you want in your personal life as well. Having a skill set between you and the other people that you interact with sexually in your life, it's very, very helpful with that as well. Not as a performative or as a persona or as a character, but just understanding how to sexually satisfy the other person, knowing what their needs are, and then them reciprocating that to you. I feel like that's a very big breakdown when it comes to relationships in general.
Yes, yes, I definitely agree with that. And you really read my mind because I truly saw that clip the other day of I think it was on the Poor Minds podcast where a couple of ladies were talking about how they just aren't stimulated through penetration and I hear it all the time from many different women that's always like that. So my question is, how does that make you feel hearing that, knowing like you got somebody like you give it all you got when you're doing, your name ain't Headusa Divine for no reason, so
You're funny, Victor. uh I just think, and I know, and I embody, and I have wisdom that people are not connected with themselves. And
mm,
it's hard to go within yourself, right? We're always taught to, you got to seek this person, you got to seek that experience, you got to go out here, you got to go out there. What about you, right? There
mm-hmm,
are gurus, there are babas, there are teachers, masters, and this is just in any realm, any situation, any industry, any setup, any family structure, right? There are always elders where people seek guidance from them, right? That's very important to do that.
mm-hmm,
However, you can't continue to seek things outside of yourself for an overextended amount of time. There comes a point where, like, even monks, for example, right? I know that was very popular in the DMV area. The monks walked from, where was it? I forget where they started, and they walked to DC, and it was like thousands of miles or something. Somebody died too or something. But anyway, do you think those people were like calling their they call it their llama? Do you think they were calling them like, hey, you know what I'm saying? We just crossed the state line. What do we do now? No, there comes a point where you're in a spiritual journey, or I don't want to get too woo woo with it, but a spiritual journey or just a journey in and of itself where you always have to turn all of the things you've gotten outside of yourself back into yourself and apply that into your experience, right?
mm,
So just on that level alone, most people don't want to do that. They don't know how to do that. They don't know where to start with that. However, that is very important for you to do that, right? So if you're not connected with yourself, how are you going to connect with someone else? How are you going to
Ooh.
feel pleasure from someone else? It's damn near impossible because you don't connect with yourself. So
Mm.
you have to connect with yourself first. And that's even when I came on the podcast the first time with the Official Blowjob Handbook series. And I teach about giving head, performing blowjobs with you being an autonomous person,
Wow.
self-empowered person yourself, and then you are giving from a full cup. You're not giving from a cup that's drained and it just turns into chaos.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely amazing.
I
So
know
I know
that's
you.
crazy to say. I know that's wild. I'm not
Oh,
gonna sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, just look at myself and look at yourself in the mirror, the man in the mirror," right?
100.
No,
100. I like it. You got to, because a lot of people out there, they'll try to blame, play the blame game of why people can't get erect, can't people get off. It's like at the end of the day, you definitely gotta look at yourself. Like, do I know me fully, or am I just going by what the internet says?
they don't want to know themselves. You have to want to. You have to choose to know yourself and really become one with yourself. People play the game of Adam and Eve so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really can't, like, Adam and Eve is played out. I'm not trying to be, you know, off the charts or whatever, but it's played out because it's supposed to be a union coming together and you
Mm-hmm.
guys fulfilling each other, where it's a whole structure, it's a whole um what's the best word to use? It's a whole just it's a full system, right? But nowadays it's more so like, oh, you didn't do this, oh, you didn't do that, oh, you didn't, and it's just a blame game where it puts people in a space where they don't even want to do it anymore. But you still have the choice to do it for yourself, and then you can be that correction within the chaos.
Of course, you can be that correction within the chaos, and also you can learn from the experiences, because you got to build on those experiences. Because trust me, I've had to learn the hard way that, hey, what may have worked one time, it ain't gonna work again. That's why you gotta definitely ask perspective questions and deal with people who know themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the latter, a lot of people don't know themselves, but really having conversation about that is very important. Sexuality, gender, orientation, all that type of stuff, which is also taught in ACU, by the way. I talk about all those type of things within a portal. Those are very open right now, right? You can have all type of different physical presentations, sexual orientations, and just because you might not identify as that doesn't mean that that still doesn't matter or that still isn't a reality of what this world has come to. Correct? So,
Correct.
really having that open communication is important. But a lot of people have to just chalk it up and have that communication, and people don't want to have that communication. But unless you have that communication, you're probably going to be disappointed more often than not.
Definitely don't be disappointed if you don't have that open communication. Now, going back to ACU, are you going to be presenting ACU at places like Exotica and like other different sex festivals?
Yeah, so that is the, overall goal, to get within those spaces. What I realized with me bringing this to the public is with the adult industry, like I have mentioned several times throughout, our session,
Mm-hmm.
is they really care about their platform, their site, their features, their tools, and the people are just an accessory to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with me, what I'm doing as a university, as a person who's created 57 courses within an institution, is I'm more so shifting within the sexology space, which is sexuality education, and ACU is a digital performance specialization within teaching people about sexuality education. So, does that make sense, Victor?
It makes some sense.
Yeah.
That makes
So,
sense.
people, they become sex therapists. There's somatic sexology. There's tantra. There's massage therapists. There are a gamut of other specializations within sexology and sexuality education. But digital performance is very lacking within those spaces as well. So I'm a bridge, Ruby Bridges, to
Mhm.
that type of that more so industry instead of just the adult industry.
Of
But
course.
once I established myself in this sexuality education, sexology industry, I would love to come to different conferences and expos and festivals and things like that. Yeah.
That's real. That's real. Now, I don't know if you have kids or not, but now what would you say to your kids, like if you did have them, like years down the line? How would you explain this to them, or like when they turn 18 about the adult cam university? How would you explain that to them? Or if you know Lisa, your nieces or your nephews or people that can see your godparent, how would you tackle that when that time comes, maybe 10 or 20 years from now?
Well, I would first and foremost, have an open, just even playing field with them, right? Non-judgmental, right? Because especially with the age that we're in right now, everything is on the internet, everything's digital, everything's AI, everything is just, you can create an ebook in 30 seconds with ChatGPT, right? So, with me communicating with them, I would more so come from the experience of understanding who, what, where, when, why.
Mm,
I would have a conversation with them about that. Why do you want to do this? That's the most important thing, is what is the leading motivator behind that, and that's also covered in ACU. Why are you doing this? Because a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, don't do that, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. You don't know who or what energy is comprised within people, right,
mm-hmm.
for them to want to do that in the first place. You don't know that. Most people
Right.
don't know that. But there are different constructs. There's religion, there's societal factors where it's frowned upon, but you don't know how them expressing their sexual energy is going to change society, right? And when I say change society, I mean heal society, right? I'm gonna get a little deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before there was really any religion, before there was any Abrahamic law, there were sex priestesses, there were sex temples where men would go to. Their wives would bring them to these temples, actually, to get healed through sexual energy, right? And I know you're like, what?
Yeah.
Now, because of society, and I hate to use this word, but patriarchy. I mean, it's really patriarchy. It's policy. It's all government, all that type of stuff. That has been shunned. That has been disregarded. That has been stigmatized. That has been bastardized, right? But they're originally, right? Because I want to say this statement very clearly: prostitution is as old as time,
Right.
right? Any form of it. Any form, and prostitution can be in marriage.
Mm,
Just because you marry somebody and they close their what is it, the Apple Watches, and you close your Apple ring and
yeah.
you're locked into that. That's a circle, baby. But you
Mm,
still gotta put out, you still gotta cook, you still gotta clean. What is that? You getting paid for it, right? In some instances.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
there were self-autonomous women where men, just like you go to churches, you go to synagogues, you go to I don't know, I forget what the Islam, is mosque. Thank you.
Mhm.
And they would give tithes, they would give tributes, they would give offerings to get sexually healed through sex priestesses.
Mm.
I know that
Wow.
sounds that's like what? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
you never thought you would
But
hear
yes.
that of sex priestesses and a church and a mosque in the same breath. That's interesting.
But when you go to a church, when you go to a mosque, when you go to a synagogue, you are looking for healing, right? You're
Right.
still giving tithes, offerings, not tributes, because they don't use that word there, but you're still giving your energy and your financial energy to the space to receive something back as well, right? That was shunned throughout. I mean, it's been hundreds of years since that's been the case, right? It's kind of like talking about Genesis 1 versus Genesis 2.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Wow, that's definitely deep right there. So what kind of people would you want to sign up for ACU, and what are some kind of people that you're like, don't even waste your time with this platform?
I mean, in general, ACU is designed for a lot of different people. I've broken them down, not broken them down, but specified three different groups of people, I guess, just like who is ACU for in general, right? So let's talk about complete novices, right?
Mhm.
These are the people who are curious about the adult creator economy or specifically about webcamming, but they want education before they just dive in, right? Which people just dove in before and after or during COVID, right? Many of them might still be in research phase. They're trying to understand how the industry works, what it requires, whether that's the right path for them, right? So instead of spending years figuring out, yes, people spend years figuring this out, how to be successful through trial and error, they can enter ACU and immediately begin learning the foundational mechanics, performance principles, and business structure that support a sustainable career. And in many ways, ACU function, like I said multiple times before,
Mhm.
as an alternative post-secondary higher ed pathway for adults exploring new opportunities, no matter what age you are. Just like someone might attend a trade school to learn cosmetology, culinary arts, or another craft, ACU offers an 18 plus educational pathway that can be pursued after high school alongside with higher education as well, or even later in life for a career pivot. So that's the first group.
Mhm.
The second group is current performers and industry veterans who are interested in pivoting from either in person to digital, blending both together, or those who are already digital but want to really continue building long term online resilience. So many experienced creators reach a point where they feel stuck, they feel plateaued, or burnt out. Sometimes that burnout comes from oversaturation in the market, which is it's already overly saturated. It just is what it is. Sometimes from weak boundaries, which we touched on that earlier in the episode, like, oh, these weirdos are trying to meet up with you. They can't meet up with you. On live webcam platforms, they can't do that. Or they just become inconsistent with their workflow, or simply they don't have a long-term strategy for sustainability, right? So where ACU comes into play is it helps them restructure and evolve their careers by strengthening things like their workflow, like their strategy, like their audience engagement, their boundaries, their resilience. And like I said before, I keep on saying that, but COVID really changed a lot of things, okay?
Yeah.
Where a lot of people entered into the industry, whether you were a veteran or a current performer or not, and they need stronger systems. They need to know what their skill sets are to remain competitive and sustainable within them just being within the industry, right? That's the second group.
Mhm.
The third group, right? People outside the industry who are exploring a completely new pathway, right? So these are adults, 18 plus, who may be considering a career shift, looking for greater autonomy just within their own personal lives, or exploring the creator economy as a way to build digital financial independence through an additional stream of income, right? 7 streams of income, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure nowadays it's probably like you need 20 streams of income. Okay. But ACU really gives them the opportunity to approach the industry with preparation, with education, and with the intention rather than just blindly entering into it. So when you look at it broadly, Victor, ACU supports every stage of the journey, turn lifestyle, turn career. And from someone, as myself, who developed and built this infrastructure, this ecosystem, just researching the industry, to someone who is actively building their career, to someone who is ready to evolve into their next level as a performer, ACU is just the simple solution for that. It gives performers and creators the education, the structure, the perspective needed to turn this work from an online hustle, no matter if you're a novice to a veteran, into a sustainable, self-empowered career path.
That's real. So, what is the grand cost of ACU?
What's the grand cost of it?
Yeah.
Well, that is so I have a membership type of setup right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to mention the prices right now, but I'm also in communication with what I mentioned before with the sexology institutions. So it just depends on whether I'm going to do this independently and it's a membership site type of situation like Patreon, that
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, versus no, this is actually like a trade school. It's you can get accredited for it. You can actually, because I have a certificate of completion, but certificate of achievement is different than that. Like if a actual sexology institution recognizes ACU as this is education framework, this is education that can be applied towards professional degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that's a different price point as well. So currently it's a membership site, but like I told you, we're also moving more so into the sexology, sexual education sphere as well. But if you go to the website and you fill out the enrollment form, you're going to see how much it is. But that could also change as well.
Of course, of course, of course. So, how many students have you had sign up so far?
So it is still in pre-launch.
Mm-hmm.
I have the website completed. No students. I haven't really launched it out there like that on social media or anything like that. Just because, for me, I'm a person, I build systems, I build institutions, I build frameworks. I more so need to plug into communities that already exist for me to be able to be a supplement to them. Does that make sense, Victor?
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to
I'm
be
not
in a.
trying to build this up. I already built the system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mama's tired. I'm a little tired after doing all of that. However, when I plug into a system that already has a community that is supportive around it and they need something like ACU, then that's when I'm going to be able to really not only give them all of ACU and have their community benefit from it, I'm also going to be able to really blend within that community as a chameleon and really be, I built ACU, I'm the one who created it. So really be a help and a pivotal person within that actually being something that can magnify and amplify
Mm-hmm.
what they already have, because ACU, nothing like ACU has ever been built. It's never been built within the whole whatever industry you want to call it. It's never been built. How do you teach people how to live webcam?
Mm.
You go to the sites. You see these people performing. I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them just have a brand and a name and stuff like that. But what is the overall foundation of that? That's never existed, and that's what ACU is.
Mm. That's amazing. That's amazing work. So, lastly, so why should people sign? Why should prospective people sign up for ACU?
Why should they?
Yeah, why should they?
If they're interested in having this as a stream of income, as a sustainable, resilient, and maintainable career path, whether it's part time, whether it's full time, that's also covered in ACU as well. Then they would want to know more information about it. It's not even more information. They would want to learn how to develop their skill set and their foundation to be successful at it instead of just jumping into it. And it's like jumping into the deep end and not knowing how to swim. And you could drown, or you could, oh, I know how to paddle. I know how to just, move my arms, my legs a little bit. So instead of you having to figure that out, you know, okay, well, I have this infrastructure, this ecosystem that's already been created, that's already been developed, that already has the answers to the questions that I may or may not have or will have in the future. And I can learn through that. You can still sign up, for a platform, for any platform that you want to, while you're going through the ACU pathway. But if you don't want to, you want to go straight through ACU first and then do it, you can do that as well. And like I said, I really relate this to like a cosmetology type of school.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes to get their hair done. Everybody likes to, you already know that. And there are different pathways to become a certified cosmetologist versus you just do hair out of your house or do hair on the side. There's a skill set that still needs to be developed, that still needs to be learned. And it's more of an accreditation. It's more of, people just know what you're doing versus the other.
Of course, of course. But Headusa, I want to thank you for coming back to Liquor Talk. I hope it won't be 5 years until your next appearance. So it won't be that long. I would hope not.
Nah, for sure. I'm definitely going to come back, once I have everything, I would say, established within like the sexology
Mhm.
institutions. I'll be able to give more of a clear pathway on that. Because that's really the pathway that I'm going with ACU because, I spent a majority of 2025 pitching ACU to the different platforms and different sites and everything like that, but they don't really see the value in ACU because they've always monetized off of just the infrastructure itself besides developing the performers. So they don't really care about the performers. The performers are pawns. Where ACU cares about the performers, they care about the skill set of the performers and developing them to actually have a career that's sustainable within this sector of the industry. That is a running tagline that I have observed in me not only talking to industry professionals, but also talking to the platforms and the owners of the platforms themselves. They're like, oh, we love ACU. This is amazing. Da da da. But they've always monetized off of people
They
coming in and out.
Yeah, it sounds like people they'd rather just monetize off the idiots and people not knowing what's going on rather than train them up. And then I'm like, it could be a win-win situation that they just don't see. And sometimes you just got to show them better. You can tell them.
It's like you go into a restaurant, a chain restaurant, let's say a chain restaurant, and some people know how to roll a burrito, other people don't. But the
Mm.
people that don't know how to roll a burrito, are they going to be there for that long?
They ain't gonna
No.
be They gonna eventually the manager's gonna get rid of them.
They have to have training. They have to have a skill. You know what I'm saying? You have to have some type of background, foundation for you to be successful no matter what industry it is, no matter what sector of whatever industry it is. You still have to have a foundation. And that's what ACU is.
Of course, you definitely had to have that foundation. Once again, Headusa, I want to thank you for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. If you need me, you know where I'm at. For those of you who don't know, I might be in Florida, but I'm just a DM away for anybody looking to collaborate. And for those of you who have reached the end of this episode, your drink of the week is a whiskey sour. Try you a whiskey sour while sipping them, while taking in this podcast. And if you got any drink suggestions, y'all just let me know. And until the next episode, thank y'all. This is the first of many. We are on the road to 400. This has been the Liquor Talk Season 10 premiere. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all whether you tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Please tell us what you think. If you're following, check this out on TikTok. Tell us what you think as well. And until the next episode, we are out this thing. Peace, y'all. And real quick, if you are in the Tampa area or you're in Florida and you want to collaborate, we're not doing this on the webcam. We got to do it in person if you're in Florida. So until the next episode, peace, y'all. Peace.